Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. I hope you guys are all doing very, very well. I'm about to talk about the game between Arsenal and Spurs. The game finished 2-1 to Arsenal in this one. So many talking points in this. Lamela scoring a ridiculous goal. But then what we've been waiting to see from Lamela for quite a long time is exactly what happened, which is him getting sent off. But I've started this live late. All of you guys that have just turned up, thank you very much for waiting for me. But I wanted to see that booking once again. And also I want to talk about the penalty. I want to talk about the important roles of two players, Xhaka in this game and Gareth Bale in this game. And talk through the big incidents as well. I think, first of all, I'm going to talk through the big incidents and then I'm going to get into the tactics of it. Because, first and foremost, let me just say, Arsenal, I thought, were really, really deserving of the victory. I thought they were really, really strong. I thought the outlook of Arteta and his team was so much better than Spurs. Spurs fans, you've got to be fuming with, again, just the reverting to type of being really disappointing and defensive. You've got to be so disappointed with that because over the last 5 games, you've seen a completely different team. And this performance from Spurs was just so poor. Harry Kane had 11 touches in the first half of the game. I think it was only in the last 10 minutes that he really kind of came to life. And once again, it took 75 minutes for Spurs to even have a little go at Arsenal in this game. Before I do get into all of it, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, we're on 91k, and if you have been enjoying the sort of tactical analysis and some of the videos on the channel recently, then please do 2 things for me. Hit the like button right this second. Honestly, it massively helps the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss a single live. We're on our way to 100k. We're daring to dream, but I can't do it. Only you guys can do it for me. So please do take a second, move your mouse if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and do that for me. Right, let's get into the big moments with this game, because tactically, the Gareth Bale decision, kind of playing him, and obviously Son having to go off, changes a lot of things in this game. But yeah, let's go through the goals. First of all, the Lamela goal. The Lamela goal is a joke. It's filthy. Do you know what? It's weirdly a goal that, because Lamela's kind of limited, right, and he's not very good with his right foot, he has to do that. So it's one of those where if you really break it down, his inability to shoot with his right foot means that he has to go and do that. That said, those are the kind of goals that we watch football for, because it almost sort of stunned Partey into parting his legs, excuse the pun. And if you're a Spurs fan, if that wins the game, that's the killer for Spurs fans. If that wins the game, the fact that he scored a goal like that, and the fact that he's put it through one of the best players that Arsenal have got, their players' legs, it's just filthy. It's just so saucy and naughty. It's absolutely insane. But that was their first attempt on goal, really, the first shot on target, and they didn't deserve any more than that as the game progressed, because it was all Arsenal. It was all Arsenal. The goal for Arsenal actually breaks down maybe the first tactical thing that I did want to talk about, which was the kind of the average positions of the opposition here. Let me show you this, and of course the role of Xhaka in this game, because in this game, Tierney, these are the average positions at around half-time, I think. And you can see Spurs super deep, not pressing, not playing with that optimism that I have done in previous games. I've got Son here. This was Son's average position before he came off. So I'm going to take him off. And then initially, Lucas Moura came over to this. Well, actually, Lucas Moura played on this left-hand side. And initially, they tried to do Moura playing the Son role, but in the second half they had to change it because Bale was getting completely outdone defensively in the first half. So at halftime they changed it so that Bale was able to be a little bit further forward, only for about 10 minutes though, because Bale was so poor defensively that he had to come off. But Tierney will get a lot of plaudits in this game, and Emile Smith-Rowe will get lots of plaudits in this game, and rightfully so. They were both absolutely fantastic in this game. But the freedom and the ability for Tierney to kind of cheat once Arsenal had the ball, and to start to bully Doherty, who is just a complete ghost of the player that he was last year. Doherty, terrible in possession in this game, but terrible defensively as well. I mean, but I say terribly. The problem he had was that he was getting doubled up because Gareth Bale was actually trying to kind of stop the pass into Emile Smith-Rowe a lot of the times here, or the sort of straight switch to Tierney. But because Smith-Rowe was so clever with his movement, Partey was able to play the ball to him a lot of the time. But also the other bit important part here is that Xhaka. Now, Xhaka is a player that he is good on the ball, but as a sort of all-round midfielder, I think he's a little bit weak. That said, alongside Partey, what's great is because Partey's such a good midfielder, it allows a different way for Arsenal to play, because Xhaka comes and plays almost like the opposite of inverted wing-back. If you think of what Cancelo does, Cancelo starts out wide and then goes into that spot. Xhaka does the exact opposite, and it allows the it turn into a bit of a back three almost, right? But it also allows Tierney to go with that security of Xhaka behind him. So Tierney and Emile Smith-Rowe were able to create these sort of double-ups and overloads on Doherty. Bale wasn't putting the work in at all. And so Højbjerg was trying to come over at different times. And I think that was one of the moments where that happened. But I think it was Emile Smith-Rowe with great drive. But again, it's that overload to get down to the byline to create one of the chances. And I don't know if it was the goal itself. I think it might have been with Odegaard. I think it was the goal. He's gone and Højbjerg's had to help him. But that whole situation would have been very, very different if you'd had someone really putting the work rate in and allowing Doherty to come back and be part of a proper back four. So that allowed Tierney and Emile Smith-Rowe to do that. But Smith-Rowe, again, his movement was fantastic. I thought Odegaard and Smith-Rowe it was those two in terms of man of the match for me. I thought they were so brilliant. Odegaard, so silky. Smith-Rowe, so great in terms of his movement and his, like I say, his selflessness. Just time and again is just fantastic. And I think a lot of people would be worried about playing both of these players, but I don't think you have to worry about it because the work rate of Emile Smith-Rowe is just fantastic. And again, the balance of this team at Arsenal is so much better for me because what you had before is you had Tierney and Xhaka, but Tierney and Saka, and then another sort of left-sided centre-back, and you're trying to kind of cram all this in, and it's all a bit obvious. Now with Saka on this right-hand side, you've just got so much more balance as a team. But yeah, Bale was a massive problem. Son wasn't doing too much, but they were looking to kind of have that transition, which they always do. And what happened was, with the Son injury, Lamela, of course, comes on. Let's change his number to Lamela's number, which is 11. And it meant that Moura came and played here. But in the second half, they tried to change it. And in the end, they actually had to make 3 changes to kind of get some new balance. They had to bring in Sissoko. And then they had to bring in Dele Alli as well. Both decisions that Gareth Bale, when he comes off, Gareth Bale was like, why am I being taken off? You're being taken off because you didn't work hard enough without the ball. And you were getting completely destroyed down that left-hand side. So Mourinho making that decision to take him off was completely right, in my opinion. Because Bale didn't really offer anything. And if you're going to play someone like that, that was my inclination on Bale, was that are they going to play him in these games where you're going to dominate so you don't have to worry about him going the other direction because the other team is so concerned with him? And that's what kind of came to light in this game. That, alongside the balance and like I say, the optimism of Arsenal. I think Mourinho, in terms of what loses this game and what wins him games at different times, is his game management and kind of being careful and then kind of going for it a bit later. The problem is with the sending off, you kind of cut your nose off despite your face. And we said it on the podcast with Flav on Thursday, is I really wanted to see these two teams kind of really sort of bash into each other and have a real go at each other. But they didn't do that, or Spurs just didn't come prepared, really, or come with any kind of positivity. And it was really disappointing, really, really disappointing. Let's get on to Lamela and the sendings off. Because I tell you what, you're not going to like this. Well, Arsenal fans aren't going to like this. First things first, with the sendings off, then we'll talk about the penalty. Sending off, it's not a sending off, and here's why. The reason it's not sending off is because if you look at the first booking, and that's why I wanted to see the first booking, and Dawson, who's doing the punditry for it, says something that is both idiotic but completely bang on as well. And again, it's something that I've spoken a lot about on the channel recently, is that if you go to ground, you're in trouble. No, for me, if you go to ground, you better get the ball. You have to get the ball. And what happens in that instance, if you watch it again, Lamela gets the ball. It's a really good tackle 5 years ago, right? And now it's apparently not a good enough tackle because his trailing leg has got him. But he's completely got the ball. 5 years ago, that's a really, really good tackle. And it's certainly not a booking. At best, it's a foul. But again, I have a real struggle with this idea that if you get the ball, that's not enough. Now, you guys, I'm sure, are going to pick me apart in the comments, and that's absolutely fine. You can have your opinion. But my opinion of that is that first tackle is a really, really good tackle where he's got the ball. And yeah, it hurts a little bit. But the problem is with all of these players now, and again, I think it comes down to an element of not having fans in the ground, is they're screaming that is going on. Not from Arsenal players in particular, but players up and down the country. Every single team now, they are just screaming from the rooftops at any moment. And look, Lamela is the king of shithousery, okay? And look, CZA there also made 30 other fouls. I agree. But if we're looking at these, that's for the referee to kind of make those. And we've watched a million games where, how did he get away with not getting booked, or how did he get away with, and someone like Fernandinho, or there's a lot of different players that kind of do that stuff. But for those two incidents, the second one, Ljungberg himself was saying, obviously Arsenal through and through. He again says that second one is a little bit cheap. The second one I think is a booking but again, even with the second one, his reputation has probably got him that second one. The Martial thing, the fact that he is that little bit, he is just prickly, isn't he? Right. So the second one I think is a booking because I know he's done that on purpose, right? But if that's Saka, or if that's maybe Tierney, or maybe even if that's, I'm trying to think, maybe that's Lucas Moura, okay? Players that don't really do that kind of stuff and they just stick their arm out, they might have got the benefit of the doubt. And this, again, comes back to my feelings on the idea of common sense. So for someone who you can kind of know that is clearly an accident, then you would let them get away with it. And I still believe that common sense can be allowed in refereeing. And that, for me, would be okay that they don't get booked. Lamela should get booked because we know what he's like and he's done it a million times. So the second one is a booking for me. The first one, for me, is not a booking. I don't think it is because I think he gets the ball. Let's move on to the penalty. You're not going to like this either if you're an Arsenal fan. It's not a penalty. It really, really isn't a penalty because he's had his shot. And what Davinson Sanchez is trying to do is trying to block it. And if anything, if we want to kind of go who's kicking who, Lacazette kicks him. Of course he doesn't get the ball, of course. But again, the screaming and the hysterics, which are part of the game, and in the penalty box, I understand it that little bit more because you've got a chance of getting yourself a penalty. So I don't totally blame Lacazette for that. But once that's gone to VAR, again, I would love to see some common sense in this. He's looking to make a block tackle. He's not gone in rash, really. His aim is to block the ball. And we've seen a million of those exact same tackles finish with a block. And so, again, Arsenal, this is my channel. These are my opinions. And Arsenal, like I said, Arsenal fans, you'll be annoyed at me saying that. Fine. And you deserve the win. Let's have a look at the stats, because when we look at the stats, you guys were fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Obviously a lot more of the ball, 13 shots, deserved it, completely deserved it. Spurs decided they fancied having a little go for it in the last 15 minutes. Lucas Moura I thought was brilliant in the second half. It is a tiny bit wild. The tackle was a bit wild. I don't mind that definition of it. But still, if Lacazette strikes the ball on goal, it's an unbelievable block. And so who's the burden on? I think if you get your shot away, and then that person connects with the other person, then that's a problem. Whereas if he gets him before he gets his shot off, that feels different to me. That does feel different to me. Big chances 2-1 here. What is interesting? Shots 6-4, and of course Kane has one that's disallowed. Kane has the free kick that hits the post. And I tell you what, here's someone who does need a shout out. Gabriel's defending after that free kick from Kane hits the post. That is superb. And that's what I think a lot of teams sometimes don't have. It's those players who who kind of think about and read and have that awareness first and foremost. And Gabriel, who's, you know, come into the Premier League and overall I think has had a really, really strong season. Deserves massive credit for that, because that's a really big moment where you've got to show awareness and be proactive almost in that weird, you know, in the quickness of that situation. And I thought it was an amazing headed clearance. Absolutely amazing headed clearance for him. So yeah, I think, look, tactically, I think it's obvious, isn't it? I think Arsenal came and tried to win it. I think going back to the tactics board here, I think like I say, I love the balance. I really love the balance that it turned into a back three with Xhaka there, Partey, who's got that ability to take the ball and sometimes just keep it moving, but sometimes take a player out of the game. I think he did it with Lamela a few times, where he kind of takes the ball and just moves it forward, and you're already gone through a sort of line of defence. Emil Smith-Rowe and Odegaard, I think we were looking to see these two play together. You know, I've been looking forward to seeing those two play together a little bit more often, and I really liked it. Lacazette, I actually thought was quite poor in this game, and I thought there were moments where he needs to just be concentrating on getting in the box. There was a moment where he just jumped over the ball and allowed Cedric to hit the post, who did well to get to it. But Lacazette, for me, I would have liked to see him just constantly be looking to get on that 6-yard box and not be concerned with anything else. And maybe that's one that in time would come, because I think if you've got Smith-Rowe and Odegaard playing in games, and this is an option now for Arteta to use a little bit more often, which it'll be interesting to see if he does that or not, because Aubameyang, of course, you would have expected to play this game, but wasn't playing because of disciplinary stuff, is that Lacazette can go, instead of dropping deep, which he's done for a long part of this season, and he's played in a very different role, because Aubameyang's been the guy that wants to go beyond, right? Actually, in this team, he can just concentrate on being in between the lines, but also trying to get inside the box and play facing the goal a little bit more, which I think you'll actually see a bit more from him in terms of scoring goals. Like I said, Odegaard fantastic. Saka a little bit quiet. Back and defensively, I thought that, you know, they did okay, but weren't pressured too much. But again, for me, Emil Smith-Rowe and Odegaard, my two sort of men of the match. I think I'm going to go with Odegaard, just maybe because he got the goal, but he just kind of oozed that element of class, really, for me. And I think actually it was Arteta and his understanding that let's play Xhaka that little bit deeper to allow Smith-Rowe to kind of create that overload. So Tierney deserves as much credit as Emil Smith-Rowe in those positions, as does Arteta for kind of creating the whole system there. And this is a good thing for Arsenal, because you, like, when all the players are fit, you do have a little bit more depth there and do have a little bit more quality. And for Spurs, it is an outlook thing, because when you can bring on Lamela and, you know, someone who can score a goal like that, when you can bring on Dele Alli, when you can bring on the players that they're able to bring on, you want a bit more, don't you? You want a bit more. You've got to be fuming. That you know, it takes to 65, 75 minutes for you to even have a go at it. Man of match for me, Odegaard. Let me know yours. We've got a super chat, so let me read that out. And if you've got any other questions, we can talk about that before we go. Anonymous. Lamela's first ever red for Spurs. Would Orba have made us play worse? Do you know what? I wonder. Just because what it might have done is it might have allowed Bale a bit more of a free rein, maybe, because it wouldn't. You've got players that can kind of run from deep and then run with the ball. The runs were from a lot deeper. Whereas if you'd had Aubameyang playing in this game, then he would have just kind of sat on Doherty, and Doherty, not literally, and Doherty would have sort of cancelled each other out a little bit. Again, you know, it would have then been a battle of Tierney, does he kind of go for it or not? And I think Xhaka still would have played the same role. I'm not sure it would have made too much of a difference. I think Arsenal were completely deserving of their victory, even if for me it wasn't really a penalty, and it wasn't a sending off because of that booking. So yeah, it was, but good question, Anonymous. Thanks for that. Odegaard man of the match. A lot of people saying Gabriel immense, saved a goal today. I agree. Doherty really struggling for Spurs this season. I agree with that as well. Smith-Rowe. Yeah, a lot of those three names. I think that's fair enough. Okay, guys. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do me a favour, guys, if you are either watching this live or watching this full stop, please, please, please. We're trying to get ourselves to 100k. I can't believe I'm actually within 10k of getting there now. So it's the final push. Be a part of it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.